Welcome to the Misfit One Lifestyles with Elizabeth Colin. She will awaken and connect with your Misfit One. Are you tired of the ups and downs in your life? Are you ready to live a healthy lifestyle once and for all? We are talking about all aspects of your life. Being fit is not just physical, it's also your mind and soul. Learn how to take steps in your life to move towards your goals. Elizabeth's goal is for everyone listening to the sound of her voice to get fit. Let's get focused, let's get intentional, and let's transform. Now here's your host, Elizabeth Colin.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Misfit One Lifestyles with your host, Elizabeth Colin, also known as Misfit One. Listen, you know I only bring things to you that you need in your life, not that you want, that you desire. This is a must-have. And I am talking about the air we breathe, baby. We're talking about breathing today. Today we have Mr. Tyler Houston. I said your name perfectly before, didn't I?
You did. Right on.
Yeah. Tyler Houston is here. He's a professional breathing coach. Yeah, you heard it. They out there, and he is the man. Talk to us. How you doing today?
Hi, Elizabeth. I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to be here talking to you.
I am so happy to talk to you because when it comes to breathing, and I have to admit, I was one of these people like, whatever, we breathe. Like, there's no skill needed. I'm already an expert at that. Until I went to yoga. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, so there's breathing. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you do and how did you become the breathing coach?
Okay. Well, Elizabeth, as you mentioned, I mean, in that same way I used to think about breathing and, you know, we're doing it. We're alive. We must be doing it right. Here we are.
Right.
You know, it's a very simple thing, you know.
Right.
But with breathing, and you mentioned with yoga, as soon as you started putting a little bit of attention towards it, things change immediately. And what we do and what I do, I'm the founder of Breath Control, and I'm the director of our Breathe First program. And what we do is we restore breath. Okay, we don't teach you how to breathe. We reteach you how you used to breathe.
Pause right there. Pause right there. Before we get deep into this, y'all get your pencil and your paper because I need to learn how to restore my breath. And so do you. So
that's right.
Talk to us. Tell us, Mr. Houston.
All right. So let's break it down with that word. We're trying to restore the before. All right. The before is a few different meanings to this. Before life throws all kinds of things at us, before diets are involved, before screen time is incorporated into the way we breathe, before we're sitting in uncomfortable chairs for too long in elementary school, that changes our breathing, before sickness, illness, psychological injury as far as traumas, physical injury. These are all things that will have a direct impact on how we breathe and the way we breathe. So we're bringing it back to the before any of these things knocked us off our path.
And how was it before? I don't remember.
That's right. Well,
I don't remember.
That's it. Well, uninterrupted, right? Just think about last time you saw an infant or a toddler running around without a shirt on, how they would just breathe beautifully from the spine outwards, right? Just uninterrupted, uninhibited, just that natural breath. And again, breathing has been around forever, but yoga and things have been around for many thousands of years. But what we now have is technology has got to the point where it's beginning to catch up. Still got a long way to go, but it's beginning to catch up. And now we combine these kind of latest and modern medical science with traditional healing and cultural healing to put this together and be able to explain that not only does it make us feel good, but how breathing like this, what it does to our biochemistry, what it does to our bodies, and why it makes us feel like this.
Yeah, well, we just to go deep into it because once you said that, I was with my granddaughter, and she's 3, and we were playing and running around, and her little belly go when she breathed, and it's true, they just breathe. Now, as a vain old lady, we trying to hold our stomach in. We don't.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not about to show that.
Mhm.
But when we definitely do take a deep inhale, our stomach expands, right?
You got it.
And
That's it.
then it goes, but that is so funny that you said that, because now I'm asking all of you, look at them, they're cheering around you. Look at the cheering. They breathing hard. They don't care.
That's
That
right.
they're not cautious that their belly is expanding,
That's
right?
it. Yeah, that's right. And a lot of that's how we were trained our whole lives, right? For male playing. I'm a hockey player. I mean, ex-hockey player. So we are trained, breathe up in those shoulders. Shoulders have got to be back. This is what men look like to have a strong, and it's really throw our breathing. If we go that way, it's going to throw us way off. And as you mentioned, thinking that stomach has got to stay in. We can't be pushing that out. No one can see us do that. But again, that's so important to be able to take advantage of breathing, which I'm going to back us up, Elizabeth, and I want to explain how I'm going to invite you maybe a different way, but how I like to think about breathing. Okay.
Okay.
I like to think about it on the same shelf. We have nutrition, we have hydration, and breathing is on that same shelf, if not even in the forefront, because how we're breathing in this moment right now is how we're feeling in this moment. So, how we breathe is how we live. All right. So, it's one of our most important energy supplies is our breath. And that's really how I teach and educate to think about it.
And that's so crazy that you said that, because that's what I also teach in my course. I teach a lot about breathing and how breath is a bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I use it a bridge to anything. If you need it to be a bridge to get more energized, there's your breath. If you need to breathe to get out of panic,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Breathe. If you
You
need it
got it.
to get your optimum moment, that performance, it's that breath. So you said it right on. The way you are breathing
Okay.
in this moment is the moment that you're breathing is it.
Yeah.
And that is so profound, because people do not realize that you can use your breath for recovery from conditions or disorders. So can we talk about some of those things, because I know they're sick of me saying it, so maybe they're gonna hear from you.
Sure, I'll give it a shot. Absolutely. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to explain this with, again, going back to the before, to restoring the before. All these different factors got in the way, but before also stands for leading with your breath in everything you do. You lead with the breath, and the body will follow, meaning the heart. Your breath will control the way your heart is beating, the respiratory sinus arrhythmia. You lead with the breath and everything you do. The body will follow. The brain will follow behind that. We don't have to have all the world's problems sorted out in the moment to calm down. But if we're leading with the breath, heart rate follows, brain follows behind. And that's where emotional regulation comes in. And that's where our ability to respond intelligently rather than react emotionally comes in. So the final part, the B4, is brain, body, breath, body, brain, being. All right. And at the end, when we all sorts it out, when we all get to the end, that's what puts us in that place. That's where we're able to be ourselves, to be human, beings, not human doings.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because okay. Can you tell me what the before is again? Say that one more time.
Okay, before
Stands
breath,
for
body, brain, being. Okay, that's your before. And we're also talking about the before all of these other contributing factors threw us off the way that we breathe, threw us off our natural way that we breathe.
Wow. It's so important. I mean, when you said that, it kind of made me think like, yeah. And I tried, listen, I try so hard. Because my natural reaction is like I will get angry. Like I'm the little kid that will push the kid down in the sandbox. I'm gonna be honest, right? I wasn't like the flower girl, and I want to be your friend. No,
come on, Elizabeth. You didn't have that halo.
Yeah, I know. The face was like, oh, but I was like, right. So I had to learn as an adult. I want to say, as an adult, I had to learn to breathe before I react, because my tongue is quick. You say something, I'm popping back like bow.
Yeah.
But I had to learn that, okay, just woosah for a moment, rub your ears. Did you used to watch Martin? You probably never saw him.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I know exactly. That's what I thought of as soon as you started doing that.
Woosah.
And that's it. I mean, it's just getting yourself in that moment. And like I said, it doesn't matter even like what you're thinking about. You don't have to solve it. Just lead with your breath. And when I say lead with the breath, what I mean, to get a good visual and to get that, think about a rolling rhythmic wave breath. Okay? Rolling rhythmic wave.
Right.
And so the opposite of a rolling rhythmic wave would be mountain range breathing, right? The peaks and valleys, right? And so if we lead into any situation with their peaks and valleys, right, that normally means mouth breathing, upper chest breathing, peaks and valleys. If we lead into anything with that, where's our body going to be? Where's our heart rate going to be, right? Without a choice, it's going to be going, right? Yeah. We're going to be agitated. We're going to be up. And then mind is going to be in the same spot. It's going to be jumping around. There'll be no focus, no concentration. And again, that's a guarantee. If you lead in with that, everything will follow suit.
You just described me to a T. But literally, I did have to learn that, though. I was a very shallow breather, so I'm hyper, and I would just be like all the time. And then I learned that, oh wait, for a moment. And you noticed it, I'm sure you probably noticed this all the time, Taylor, all the time, that people who are very shallow breathers usually are very hyper. And the people who have that deep breathing are very mellow people. Like they're like, you know what I mean? They move slow. They do it. My son is a shot. Like, boy, let's go. He's a very deep breather, so he moves slow. Like I used to say, the house on fire, and he's still doing it.
Oh, that's amazing. And there's cultures around the planet, around the world, that they base longevity not off of years, but off of the breath. And they see exactly what you're explaining. They see the people who are slow breathers, and they see how those people tend to not get sick. They tend to have that energy. They tend to live longer, happier lives, because they're not up here. They're not forcing it on their heart. They're not giving themselves an option to be elevated.
And I think that is so funny, because he was a combat medic in the Army, and he's very great in all these things. And I'm thinking, you don't move fast enough. Like when he was saying, I'm like, I don't know if you could do this, but he
Mhm.
does perfect in it because he stays very calm and he's
Yeah.
like and I'm thinking yeah, of course, but I never knew that there was such a study, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, can you give us some, first of all, how can we connect with you? Because I know you have your whole company,
Mhm.
and it's what is it? The breathe control,
Yeah, it's breathcontrol.ca
breath control.
because I'm coming to you from up in Canada. I'm on Vancouver Island, so it's
Yeah.
breathcontrol.ca, or Instagram is breath.control. And yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. And as you were talking, Elizabeth, and you're explaining like what you started, and that sounded like you, and then you started paying attention to your breathing.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna tell you how I started thinking about breathing and kind of
Let's
how,
talk about it.
because you asked about what this means for recovery. So I think this is where how I have to tell how the story begins. But we were chatting briefly before we got on, and mentioned I'm from Canada. So I grew up in the middle of Canada, Manitoba on the prairies. Grew up there, raised on a farm, and then I lived in Arizona. I played hockey in the desert, so I stayed there for a few years before finding my way out to Vancouver Island, just off above Seattle, and where I fell in love with the ocean. Right, I love the valley, I love Arizona, I love where I grew up, but there's nothing quite like the ocean. And
Absolutely.
right, and so I've been a medical professional. I've been a mental health nurse for the better part of a decade. I've worked all around the hospitals. I'm also a medic, and it was through my new passion I found about when I moved to the island, and that is free diving. Okay. And free diving is not, some people think it's when you jump out of an airplane with like the wingsuits, but that's not what it
No.
is. Free diving is where we go and you go underwater and you dive down only under your own breath, on one breath. So you're on your own terms, you're in the fish's turf, right? You're on their environment and you're only able to stay down as long as your breath will allow you to. So this is one of my underwater meditation, right? This is my happy place that I discovered. And I started
Wow.
doing this and immediately noticed changes in myself. Immediately noticed my sleep was better. I noticed that I was having more patience with my children and my wife in conversations. I noticed my eyes were getting whiter. My skin was getting brighter. All with this little bit of breathing I started to pay attention to. And that's it, Elizabeth. It's that as soon as you put that curiosity, it's all about the curiosity with your breath. So I started feeling this in my performance, in
Right.
work life, how I was reacting at work with clients, with coworkers. And then I started introducing it I work with a lot of addiction recovery centers and healing houses here in Canada. And I started introducing it. I had a client come down and visit me in the nursing office right out of a structured activity in full panic attack, right? Full anxiety. She came down looking for her anti-anxiety medication. So, of course, being a nurse, I administered it, set it on the desk in front of her, but then asked if I could have just 15 minutes and let's do some breathing together first. All right. So, yeah, about 13 minutes later, that client stood up, the smile on her face, and walked out the door and left that pill in her.
Forgot I met it. That's right. Yes.
Okay. And that was the day. That was the day this all started. That's the day I realized how I would be able to be the most service to people using kind of what all the elements of that led my life to this point. And so that's where I went all in. So that's kind of the beginning of all respiratory training began.
Wow. Okay, so can you give us some tips on breathing, or a way to control our breath?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's even tie it to what we've been talking about now. We
Yeah.
mentioned about, breathing into our belly, and that's what we think of. I know everyone listening, I'm sure, has heard of that term belly breathing, right?
Yes.
And that's good. That's wonderful because when we're using our belly, We're using our diaphragm, our main breathing muscle, right? It's going to pull our lungs down, and we take that deep breath, and we're going to not have any room left, and our stomach will come out. But if we only think about the term belly breathing, we're going to establish poor habits. And that's what I work with a lot of clients, kind of correcting that right from the beginning. If you think about infants breathing or toddlers, it's from the spine outwards. All right. Every mammal on the planet breathes from the spine out, besides a lot of us, because a lot of us have screwed ourselves up to the point we don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So think about not only in your belly, but think about horizontal breath. Okay. So to be able to do this, place your hands right on those lower floating ribs. That's beautiful. And then breathe in through your nose and just feel that lateral expansion. Okay. That sigh. Feel your hands going outwards on the inhale. And then on the exhale, coming back together. Okay. That lateral expansion, that's beautiful. So if you feel that lateral expansion, that means you're diaphragmatic breathing. All right. Where a lot of times we think that we're belly breathing, and we don't do this on purpose. We're not cheating on purpose, but 98% of us are using our stomach muscle that our ab to push that stomach out, being like, okay, I got this down. There's nothing to this breathing thing.
I think that is so funny you said that, because I was demonstrating it, because that is true. They go,
right? Yeah.
It's like, no, you got to expand. And I heard somebody, maybe Allie Love one time on Peloton, was saying, like, you're going to, like, if you had wings and if your wings were going to come out. Now, I love that because I'm a little crazy, but that is like, wow, if you did have wings, that you would have to let that expand this so that they can come out. It's just not your belly.
Yes.
So I love that fact that you tell us how to do it, because a lot of times we do get confused when you say breathing out our belly. And then that also leads into not only just bad habits, but hyperventilating. You
That's it.
right?
You're keeping it down low. And that's only, we're 2/3 of the way done. We have to breathe out. We still go breathe into the belly. We breathe out to the sides, but we can't forget about breathing into our back. We have the majority of our lungs are situated on the back side. How many of us knew that?
I did, and he's not talking about on your booty, y'all. Not
just,
your back
just
side.
north of that. Yeah, that's right. Above.
They like, oh yeah, my lungs big. I got big lungs. But yeah, that is so true, because it is an expansion of your whole body. And so I hope you guys did that with him, because if you didn't, rewind and do it again, because it's facts. It will change your life. Breathing is so important, and I know people think I'm crazy when I say, just stop and take a breath for a moment. Let's just breathe together. Let's just do that. Let me hold your hand. Let's inhale, hold it, exhale. And you teach this to extreme athletes, performers, and just to everyday people. And I think this is so profound. I thank you so much for doing this, because we all take our breath for granted. And it actually has magical powers. My husband get mad when I throw magical and stuff. It's not magical.
In a way, you feel it. You feel it immediately as soon as you switch it in that moment, right? And just throw out there, if it is magical, right? In this magical way, every day we talked about how we're these different things interfere with breathing. And we only really, on average, we're only taking in about 50% of that potential aerobic energy that we could be using in our everyday. So think about that. Our most important energy supply, we're waking up first thing in the morning, and we're dumping half of that down the drain before we start our day. Okay, so how important and how vital that is in your lives.
How can we stop? That's a great thing. What can we do in the morning to kind of get some of that energy and power back?
Just to start off with, make sure as much as possible in and out through your nose. So important, in and out through your nose. Our nose is designed physiologically to do 30 different things that our mouth does not do. All right. So if we breathe through our nose, it will get that air down much deeper, right down to the basement of those lungs. And that's where the magic happens, is when we get it down to the basement of the lungs.
Wow, I didn't know that. See, I learn stuff new every day. This is so awesome. Again, tell us, how can we find you and stay connected?
Okay, you can find me through breathcontrol.ca is the website, or on Insta is breath.control.
Listen, I am so glad you took time to speak with us today, because this is knowledge that will definitely improve your life now. Not something that you have to think about or prepare for, a pie, a purchase, but now. But we want you to connect with him so that you can use your breath in order to propel you into whatever you want to do. Right? It's your energy, it's your life force. So I got 2 questions before I wrap this up. 1, how do you take care of you? How do you start off your mornings?
That's a great question. I take a moment and I go through a sacred breath ceremony, and that's my time. All right. And that's so you get out of bed and kind of, you can situate, make sure your kid's still sleeping, and make me making breakfast, but then come back and just set myself up with, 15, 20 minutes, and I just focus on my breath. So I'm not talking about, specifics of how many seconds in and how many seconds out. I'm just feeling my breath. I'm feeling as it goes in. I'm connecting with that sacred breath, knowing it is that breath. It's the first thing that how we started life. It's how we're going to end life. It's what connects us to everything else out there and everyone else doing the same thing. So I just take a few minutes. I do that, bring that breath in, put it out, and just use it to connect with creation, with everything all around us.
Wow, thank you so much. That is pretty cool. That is really good. I'm going to have to start implementing that. I meditate in the morning. So I do get my little breathing in. Like I be, no, I'm just kidding. I really, I do meditate in the morning after, my devotion. But last question.
Okay.
What is words of wisdom you would like to leave us with?
Words of wisdom. What can I leave for you today?
What do you want us to really think about? Focus. Any takeaway from today?
Okay, I already kind of left a few things that I would like to repeat right now, but I won't do that. But as far as biggest takeaway, just be curious with your breath. Okay, just all about curiosity. And as soon as you pay attention to that breathing, that little bit, it's going to take you. All right, it'll pick you up and take you along.
Bam. That's it. Just be curious with your breath. I love it. I love it. I love it. Again, thank you for coming on and sharing these nuggets with us. I promise you, from now on, everybody listening today will be breathing differently. I can guarantee it.
I love it. I love it. Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you. And until next week, you guys, live fit. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Misfit One Lifestyles. Listen, when you are fed up and sick and tired of living this stifled, overwhelmed, and overstressed life, and you're ready to live the fullest, richest, and healthiest life by gaining more confidence, more energy, and more clarity, living in your best self, you know what to do, right? go ahead, go to my website, misfit1.com. Sign up for our online courses, Creating a Healthy Habit, so that you too can live fit, focus, move with intention, and transform your life.